honesty. That was just me wanting to do a different take. That might have been a little bit better. But it wasn't. It needs a little bit of spicing. So maybe so. This? But no, I'm not trying to do a shanty. I know I'm reusing crops. Just stop it. But I actually have coffee now. And since I'm already virtue signaling about my operating system use, with my Linux hat here, which is too warm for the present moment, including my hair is too warm for the present climate, I am going to talk a bit about virtual water as the introduction to this episode of Fractal Radio. So many gallons go to produce a cup of water. That's the concept. Basically, the amount of water it takes to grow the beans, then the amount of water to make the fuel and the truck, and, even take into consideration the amount of water the truck driver has to drink to get that thing on the store shelf, right? Yeah, so a lot of water goes into a single cup of coffee, and because clean water can be hard to come by, especially in certain places that don't have technology, we should try to be more conservative with it. Anyhow, right now I'm going to make a fresh cup of coffee, which is an eco-sin, because there's still coffee in there, but it's been there for an hour or so, which is another eco-sin. But I'll make up for it by babbling on the internet. So, next topic. Jump cut. Now.
Oh, hi there. I'm back. The jump cut has been completed and I have all my materials. So what's this right here? Well, it's sustainable bags. That's the title of this Fractal Radio episode. I was having a really difficult time trying to figure out what to call it. But since I was virtue signaling about all my hippy-dippity intentions of educating the world and myself about water and Linux, yeah, sustainable bags. Also, another topic of sustainability is creative sustainability, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So earlier today, as I'm wont to do, I was wondering about, the process of writing and art and all that. Nonsense. / awesome stuff. I call everything nonsense. Anyhow, I was thinking about that, about why it's so damn satisfying to create something or to refine a process or to learn how to code and put things together. And, everything, because it's kind of popular in intellectual circles nowadays, or just in general, really. Just it's also pop psych to talk about Evo psych. It's all tied back to the satisfaction of hunting and gathering. So if you've ever been camping, you know that you need to set up a campfire. And so you go out and you gather the wood. And when you prepare that, and when you do that, and when you take the time to cut the wood properly and make sure you don't cut yourself, and then you have it for the night, and you know that you're going to be able to cook some s'mores or brew up a little pot of coffee or something if the need arises. You have that wood there, and it's in a dry location. There's a satisfaction to the actual possession of that resource and the acquisition of it. And that's the same thing about writing. You're looking for ideas. So that's what I was doing for a couple of hours today. I was researching all kinds of stuff about the Amazon, and then I'm putting them together in a story that's kind of suited to a specific purpose, which has to do with, myself, my outlook, where I want to take the story, what the kind of story is, and making all of that fit has that same kind of thing as doing a successful hunt, I suppose, if we're following that wacky though popular analogy. I don't know if it's wacky, but every idea can be criticized. Anyhow, so I now have my Baileys and my coffee. Let's see if that helps my jiggity. Oh, delish. This bottle is going to last me a while. Not much of a liquor fan, to be honest. I like my slow pints of beer there that I drink very leisurely to the great annoyance of my companions. Having imbibed this elixir, let's see if it's given me the requisite kick, as it were. Doo-be-da-ba-bum, still rhythmically challenge that. Who would have thunk that you need practice and not alcohol to make you good? I love violins. It's because they're all fifths. G, D, A, E. Yeah. Neat stuff. So why am I continuously playing the same song over and over again since I don't know it? Well, partially because it's fun. A little bit of show-offiness, but also to illustrate the point of continuance, of whittling away at something, and how that's sustainability of a creative process. And the best way to sustain any given creative process that's your main one, in my case it happens to be writing, is by having different outlets. So when I get bored of writing or I get stuck, I play an instrument and it puts me in a different kind of non-verbal zone. I even saw an article on Poets and Writers where a fellow talked about doing exactly that, because he's also a composer, apparently, further along than I am, by far in the music department. But yeah, that's food for thought. If you are somebody that's a writer, then try doing music or drawing or whatever. And if you're somebody who's doing drawing or music, try doing writing. Yeah. And that'll help you sustain your flow. So, on to the next topic. Zingity-dangity-doo. This is what happens when I drink coffee all the time. Hopefully these will be more chilled out and coherent as I progress. But I'm going to keep putting them up more often because that's another way, is constantly putting stuff up that's not exactly perfect, but that will keep in your mind that you need to refine something, and is in itself a constant refining process. Right. Next topic, while I destroy my own microphone. My God. So, the New Yorker, which I just ordered and did a video about, right there. Yeah, that's the cover art. And what is that picture? It's got a Ford truck with a shotgun mounted, a bunch of Jesus and Trump MAGA paraphernalia in the back, and there's some yuppie family, probably at some yuppie camping site up in New York, giving him the stank eye. That's my interpretation of it. Maybe it's just a giant Rorschach, but this was where I found that article about that lady moving back to England or wherever because she didn't want to be a part of Trump's America, even though she had become naturalized during the Obama administration and all that kind of jazz. I really thought that this cover, it's pretty, it's well done, it's artistic, but it's a tad Orwellian. It's almost like, if you're one of these caring, good families, you should look askance at the Trumpians. Whatever. That's sort of the implication there. I don't know what other implication there is to draw from that, because he just kind of has a look of concern on his face. He's standing next to the Trump mobile. But at the same time, this is great fodder for me, because it's so damn interesting. And as I said before, you should read things you don't necessarily agree or align with, and you should also subscribe to periodicals, because the New Yorker does publish good in-depth stuff on interesting topics like the Amazon from time to time. Likewise with National Geographic and all things of that sort of ilk there. So, talking about, National Geographic type things, I've been reading a lot about the Amazon for the Sketch of Sam Monroe, which is the little novel that I'm posting as I'm writing up to my website. You can find it there on www.fractaljournal.com. And, yes. So, the relationship between Indians and Europeans has, of course, been stressed because it just inherently is when a new group comes into an area and wants the resources in that area, there's already people there, there's going to be conflicts. And I'm not going to make any kind of value judgments about either party involved, but there's definitely still problems there. And I was really simultaneously thrilled to find videos of these indigenous peoples and kind of concerned. Not that I can really do anything about it, but yeah, apparently, in the Amazon, there are a lot of prospectors and people who are looking, like land speculators, people who are looking to do agriculture, companies to set up businesses on these native lands. And there's organizations, obviously, to protect indigenous peoples. And one of the side effects of doing this is that the companies and the businesses and individuals who want to set up shop out there view these Indians as being pawns in a game to keep them off this land. So in a way, the Indians are kind of the protectors of the rainforest by their mere presence, but because of that, they're also endangered and kind of killed, etc. Now again, I don't subscribe to the idea of like the noble savage, but people have a right to their land. And that kind of thing is really difficult to orient around in terms of we do still need resources, but we don't want to overuse them or infringe on the rights of others. And that's kind of what I'm interested in. And the Amazon, like all wetlands, is a great litmus for that. Like I think the Okefenokee Aquifer or whatever in the United States. Obviously the Amazon, all that Creole territory also up in the United States. The Nile. Yeah. These are all focus areas for the interaction of environment and people. And that's what I'm hopefully going to be talking about with more depth in upcoming videos. I really need to refocus on that topic of sustainability across all those metrics. While I drink my water-intensive alcohol and caffeine. So, I just don't know. What do you guys think about, native populations, their rights, and the obvious necessity of the local Brazilian population and the world at large for resources? How do we do that sustainably without infringing on people's rights and getting a lot of people really upset? There's all these thoughts that come to my mind of, I really find it distasteful when people attack these native populations. But these native populations are not angels, and they do have some practices. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think that there definitely are tribes that are violent. Violence is normal to humans, not just, people in the Amazon. There was horrific violence all throughout European history. The brothers DeWitt were basically eaten in Amsterdam, from what I recall reading, after they were executed and dragged through the streets. So yeah, I can imagine that our brothers in the Amazon also get violent, and this causes tensions, and especially when there's the incentive of, there's land and stuff there that we need. Obviously, people are going to think less sternly about attacking those populations. And I don't want to see that happen. But we have to take into considerations all the psychological factors if we want to craft a message of peace and tolerance and all that hippie stuff that I'm really into, but at the same time, I'm kind of skeptical of. I'm not saying that we should go after the natives. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's something about teaching people to get along without having litigation in place, and we do, obviously, and even in Brazil they have all these organizations like FUNAI, but it's such a tightrope. Let me see if I can come up with less meandering bullshit by actually looking at some of the articles that I had read. Okay, so one of the FUNAI people, who are the foundation something or other that studies these Indians in Brazil, was filming them. And I think I'll try to put the video up here somewhere. And as they ran by, or as they're running by now, as you can see, they're yelling enemy. And that's how they've come to identify white people, because white people brought disease with them. and that wiped out whole tribes and such. And actually, one article on Wikipedia, there's one sentence in this article that really freaked me out. The Akuntsu were victims of a massacre perpetrated by Brazilian cattle ranchers in the 1980s and currently number just 4 individuals. Yeah. They now number just 4 individuals. Obviously, the tribe was probably not terribly big to begin with, but that's some decimation considering the numbers. And this article by a Brazilian who was adopted in the United States talks about how surprising it is that, you know, there's this vision of the Amazon as being this kind of like super rich and fecund place with these whimsical natives, but the reality is a lot darker. It's basically, let's see if this was the sentence here. All these crises are negative feedback loops feeding on each other, and in a region where transparency is not the norm, it's important to shed light on some of these issues. The first step is to get a full and complete picture of the Amazon, is getting a sense not only of its beauty, but also the peril there, even if some of these more gritty elements aren't necessarily going to make an HD cable television special. The human landscape of the rainforest is what needs to be studied as well, is what this guy was saying. As a child of the 80s, I grew up in a period when the popular narrative about the Amazon rainforest was that it was a region under threat, but that the threat was primarily one of deforestation, and that saving the rainforest meant we protected the trees. But as I immersed myself in the research for this book, I found very much more compelling, and it might be more urgent, story is that of human landscape of the rainforest. Yeah. Chris Feliciano Arnold's new book, that's the guy that was just making that statement, The Third Bank of the River, doesn't address these well-known issues of environmental crisis, I just read that, directly. Instead, he takes the reader on a journey behind the scenes to reveal the underlying social and political problems, from corruption to drug dealing to illegal logging and the links between them. So all those things are apparently this big giant clusterfuck circle. And, you know, I hate to be a damn vulture, but that's a gold mine for a writer. And it's also something interesting for a person who wants to develop, I guess you could call them algorithms for solving these sorts of problems that involve the intersection of humanity with all its corruptible idiosyncrasies and the environment. So, this is now getting close to 20 minutes. What was I going to do? Oh, I was going to shill. If you enjoy this content and you want to help encourage me to be less shit, which I'm going to do on my own, I promise, but consider donating to my Patreon because stuff is expensive. Like this microphone broke recently. So, with that in mind, thanks so much for stopping by. Subscribe to this channel. Vote it up, vote it down, comment, whatever. Interact. I love interaction. And take care.